I'm barefoot. Oh dear.
And we're barefoot because usually you can't see our feet.
I'm from the country, y'all.
So there's that. But welcome, Shivy. Well, yes. Alfred Brooks.
Yes.
Goes by Shivy.
Yes.
Call me Shivy on Insta.
Shivy. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So go ahead and take the show. This is all yours.
Oh, yeah. Hi. My name is Shivy. I am a educator here in the Atlanta area. I teach high school. I teach economics and government to high school seniors and 10th graders. And, you know, I pride myself on creating a culturally responsive and inclusive school environment. And so, you know, with all the things going on, we just, wow, like, I would just love to really tell the story of how we met, how, like, this stuff has come together and, like, really share with you guys what we're planning to do that we feel would definitely revolutionize education forever. Things will never be the same. And today is the beginning of it all. And so I'm just really excited to be here and to be a part of this work. I think we're going to do some great things. This is going to be awesome.
We are so excited, and we're so excited. We've been kind of teasing it this week with you guys, if you've seen it on Shivy's profile and on ours and on Get Your Teach On. But honestly, something that I don't even want to know how many hours we've all been putting in our team.
Many of them.
Has been putting in for about the past, I would say.
Shivy was finally like last night, he goes, I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm about to clock out. I was like, yeah, okay, good. I'm glad you said it. Because me too. I'm tired.
Yeah.
But we talk about it like our two platforms, two profiles, almost on like social colliding type of thing.
Yes.
And so we are going to talk about that, but we are going to announce something as we've been teasing, as we've been talking about during this episode that we are so excited about, something that we have all been working extremely hard, our teams, so many folks behind the scenes as well, and it's going to be something that is going to be extremely powerful.
And it's happening like that. When things start to click like this, you know, number one, it's going to be awesome. You know, number two, you're doing the right thing. So we're very excited about that.
So we'll get started with some background.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So listen, this whole thing, the way it started is so interesting. A few months ago, maybe, educator by the name of Lanisha Tab. We all know her as Apron Education. I call her my social media fairy godmother. You know, I was really close to getting to a certain level of following, and she's like, oh, I'm going to just, you know, blast your page out there and share your stuff and tell people to follow you. And a lot of folks did end up following me on that day, and one of the people that followed me was Miss Hope King.
Yours truly.
I was like, we got to give her harp sounds.
What?
Okay.
There it is.
Oh wait, I cannot. I've got to be able to hear this. I can't hear anything.
So Shivy.
Maybe it's my mic.
Shivy is a musician himself, and he brings it on his live. So you already know. Oh yeah. You already know. We're there. We're in it.
They're never going to want to tune into one of ours again because it's not going to be nearly this cool. So.
Look, we just try to bring fun to live. We try to do something a little bit different. Everybody's going live now, you know, but the critical conversations need to be had, and we got to do it in a way that keeps people drawn in so that they want to be engaged in the convo. So
you've got harps, you've got
we got harps. You know, we got Christian, my son. You know, when when you're going up and you're winning, you know, if someone drops good bars and they say something accurate, you're like, correct. You know, you gotta let them know. Correct. right. You know, so yeah.
I'm also already starting to sweat a little bit, and I'm hoping that I can pass it off here. But you also do something on your episodes called
Finish this lyric.
So I'm afraid we might not have time for anything like that.
I think it's a cop out early.
I don't know why you brought it up. I thought it was.
I wasn't even thinking about it.
No,
I really wasn't. But I'm glad you did.
Well, our lives are an hour. Yours are not. Well, when that hour hits,
we have a time frame.
But no, let's continue though.
Yeah,
so we left off. So
yeah, Lanisha shared your profile.
Shared my profile. You followed me.
I'm like anybody who looks this cool in a hat. Like
hey,
what?
Hey, I'm not blessed like Wade. Wade got the full nice head of hair. You know, I had to compensate and just come with the hat game. You know what I mean?
Look at that hairline. That hairline is going.
Oh, mine is gone. So going is better than gone. All right. So
I'm
you're
doing
winning.
okay here in the middle, but no, but followed you and saw the work that you were doing with your high school students, and just so inspired by the work that you're doing, how real you are in your classroom, how you bring yourself into your classroom. Just so inspired by what you've been doing with your students specifically, but also education in general.
For sure.
Like you don't feel like, oh, I've just got to do my work here and have my impact in my classroom. You see way beyond that.
Well, we don't have the luxury, and the truth is that when you grow up Black in America, you understand the responsibility to be there and be present for not just those around you in your village, but in the broader, greater world. Like, we have to be there. And unfortunately, you know, Black male representation in schools, we're less than 2% of our educators. So if I'm hanging back and I'm only taking care of the kids that I have access to, then I'm not reaching out to those kids who may never get an opportunity to have access to a Black male educator. So we have to think bigger than that and be bigger than that. And it's not even a choice thing. It's like, you know, we have a responsibility to do it, so we have to walk it.
You gotta do it.
Yeah. Well, I was so inspired, and so anyways, after I started following you and you followed me back, and then Wade and I, we actually had we started doing some educator interviews, which hopefully you're going to get to see some bits and pieces of those coming up.
I forgot about that piece.
Yeah, I know. And so I reached out to Shivy and I said, oh my goodness, I would love to be able to interview you as part of this. Wade and I were reaching out to others to try to learn, and some things about distance learning, but some things about what's happening right now in the world. And so we reached out and we had this interview with you, and we had never spoken before, and it was like done.
Yeah.
Friends for life. Like, just instant connection.
And then the irony of it all, for those of you guys watching, like, we live in the same neighborhood.
Like 2 turns, he said.
Yeah.
Away from what?
Yeah. It's like insane. Like, when we're talking like 5 minutes up the street, like around the corner from each other, living in the same zip code, same school zone, you know, electing the same people, and you know, living the same life, really, in a lot of ways. And it's just interesting how, you know, people can walk in 2 different worlds, and you can see yourself as living in 2 different worlds, and many times there's so many more commonalities than there are differences. And so when we had our conversation and we started talking about just the timeliness of everything going on, the emergency and the need to have critical conversations about race, about anti-racist work, about inclusion, about decentering whiteness in schools, like all of these critical conversations, which we tend to have in our own silos. And we said to ourselves, wow, you know, if we just stepped outside of our circles, if we just started to have conversations with each other, perhaps we could actually give each other something actionable, something we could do, tangible steps, to make education a place that's going to be more inclusive, safer, better, higher quality for all kids, but especially Black and brown kids, because they need it. They need it. So I appreciate you guys for engaging in the conversation, being courageous enough to even extend your platform to this conversation, because the teachers that are watching and learning through your conferences are exactly the same educators that I think are going to be why education gets better because of how they're going to benefit from this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I mean, our community is. I mean, they're amazing, and we're so glad that you guys are here, and you actually get to see Shivy, and you get to hear from Shivy. He's got the perfect radio voice, but
he does. But we talk about this all the time. We're like, you are made for this right here.
But the intentionality and the urgency and what we're going to just talk about tonight, and just let you know what's going to happen, is important and it's crucial. And there's no better time than the present. So I mean, it's just one of those things where this is organically happened. It's the Lord has put this on us in the same neighborhood. Shivy and I are actually the same age, which is ironic too. So you just see so many different things that are transpiring.
But the first conversation that we had with you, I remember specifically saying there's nothing off the table here. Like this is going to be open conversation, and you took that like for real with that conversation, because not only was he so open, and we just learned so much from you just in those, I think it was like even a it was like a 20-minute conversation. It wasn't even that long.
Yeah.
But we learned so much from you. And then you reached back out, and we were actually driving to South Carolina to pick up Mav from Get Your Virtual Teach On, had just wrapped.
Yep.
And I said that we were not going to host any more conferences for a while. I said we were done. Like that was it. That was it. And then the phone rings, and Shivy calls us on the way to South Carolina. And I want you to kind of explain the rest because this was...
Well, you know, first off, the conversation lasted for hours. Like, we had an extended conversation about all things, just personal life, greater society life, all of it. And I had an interest in doing a conference. I felt like conversations like this were absolutely needed. But again, like we said, you know, majority of my following are Black educators, and we can talk to other Black educators about race in school and things like that as much as we want to. But the truth is that 80% of education's teachers are white females. Right. And so if we're talking to Black folks about race and white folks are talking to white folks about race, then we're not ever actually having real conversation. So until we start to extend outward, then we start to do the work. And so when we started having a conversation about coming together to put on a conference, it lit me on fire. Like, I was just like, wow, like, this is going to be a game changer. Because too often, look, white fragility is a real thing.
Yeah. It's
and talking about these conversations. I mean, and we all go through it, right? We all have positions and perspectives of privilege. Even just as a man, I have perspectives of privilege. And when you get put on notice about those things, for some folks, you know, ego gets involved, pride gets involved, your feelings get hurt, and then it makes you apropos to actually doing the work. Whereas, you know, if we could come together and create a safe haven to actually have these courageous conversations, to bear it all, to lift the veil, then we're going to start to change things.
And I think that's the key component. You're not shying away from the topics. You're not shying away from what's raw and what's real. Yeah. But you're allowing to have that safe zone where we may get checked. We will get checked. Not may. We will get checked. And it's a place to where you can still be courageous, but we got you. Right. Like, we got you. We got you. We're here for you. And all of these people who are involved, they got you. Now, they're going to be real with you, and you may get your feelings hurt, but that's okay. Ain't no one discrediting your feelings or our feelings or whatever. It's a real issue. If it wasn't real, you wouldn't feel those things. And so that's what I really love that you just said. It's a safe haven to create those courageous conversations.
Well, yeah, I was going to back that up, too, because that conversation did last for hours. We were actually in Pendleton, ready to pull up my mom's house, and we drove around the city of Pendleton. I can't even tell you how many times. No, but that whole conversation, like, and we've talked about it, it's crazy, but it is, I call it a God thing because that's what it is. But even in that conversation, like, we all felt, I mean, at least I know that we felt that, but we could literally say anything, express any emotion, talk about the hard things, talk about the challenging things, talk about the uncomfortable things. And when you find, you know, someone that you can have those kind of conversations with, that is like from the start, because we didn't even know each other except for through social media. And I know that I had just so much growth. And I actually talked about it with Lanisha and Naomi the other night, because I said, you know, people have messaged me, and I'm sure that you've seen messages too, but specifically from a white audience, message me, I just don't even know how to start. Right. I just don't even know how to start the conversation. And one thing that I said, and it's thanks to you and to some others that I've had conversations with, but you don't know what you don't know until you try to have the conversation. Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. And so I felt like when the three of us were talking, I could literally just be honest. Right. And that was the key to it. It's not about saying the right thing. It's not about saying the wrong thing. I could just be honest with you. Right. And you would give me honesty in return. Right. But there was so much mutual learning that just happened in that time frame. And it was a lengthy conversation, but I felt like there was so much power in that. And it's what you're talking about with building a community. Yes. Building a community that's truly moving forward and progressing and learning together. And I think that is a big part.
Yeah, and I think there's a huge difference between calling people out and calling people in.
I love that you say that.
Where's the button?
Right. Oh, we gotta hold on, drop a bomb on that one. You know.
Say it again.
Right. Yeah.
We gotta hear that one again.
Yeah. No, there's a huge difference between calling someone out and calling someone in. And we're at a time where our politics are so tribal, our communities are so tribal, that we can't afford to keep calling each other out. It's, you know, it's a time where we got to call people in. Now, if you don't want to get called in, you might get called out. However, we do need to create a space where people feel safe to learn, because like you said, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to try and you're going to fall. Right? As long as you get back up and you keep pushing and you stay well-intended, then all is well. And so I think we have to create a space where we can have that dialogue,
right,
where we can tell people how to start, where we can help us, you know, reflect on, you know, as black folks, as white folks, as Asian folks, as Latino folks, whomever. Like, we all need to kind of take a step back and reflect on what we're doing right now, what our perspectives are, and check them. Because even with our own black community, we have things we have to check. And across our communities, we have things that we have to check. Right. And now is the time to have these candid conversations and be unafraid about it.
I think a lot of, sorry, Wade, I know that you
I just witnessed a lot of what he said recently that he did, and it was just reflecting. It's fine.
But what I was going to say too is that a lot of educators think to, I mean, I'm just saying because this is what I think too sometimes, or what I have thought in the past. Just that, well, I'll be more comfortable talking about these issues, not with an adult, but with my students, right? And I'm like, no, like you've got to have those conversations so you know what to take back into the classroom. I think a lot of us who have felt like, oh, I'll do the work in my classroom, right? But the work can't start in your classroom until the work starts with you. And that was one of the biggest things that we talked about, is that work starts with us as a human, as a wife, as a mother, as a friend, in all of our roles. And that, when it truly becomes the habits of our life, then that's when it can start directly having an impact in our classroom, because that is the way that we think, and that's the way that we feel, and that's the way that we respond. If it's not a habit and it's not intentional, then when you're in the classroom, you're just doing it because that's what you're told you're supposed to do. Right.
And I think this is one of those things where it's got to come from the right place. Hi, bro, we drop a bomb on that. Hold on.
We'll take it. What? I'm going to wait for you to give me something when we have a moment.
Get my guitar real quick.
Yes. But no, I think you're 1,000% correct. I do think it's one of those things that we have to be on purpose about, and I think where it comes from in the heart means everything. Because if it's not well intended, if you don't mean it, it's not going to feel like it, and it's going to be obvious. You're not going to be able to fake this work. It truly has to be in the heart. And we all know a lot of education is about heart. It's about heart. But now is the time where we have to be intentional about where the heart is positioned and how the heart is seeing things. Because the heart may have been well intended, but what the mind or sometimes the unintended actions have been are not in alignment. And it's time to get those things together.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where, just trying to bring it full circle a little bit, we're seeking action now. Like, you can say something all day long. You can post whatever you want to post. You can text whatever you want to text. You can say whatever you want to say. But until you take initiative, it's not a full commitment. Like, you have to put yourself out there. You have to be vulnerable. And you have to have those courageous conversations, and not necessarily with what you say, is the type of questions that you ask. You have to come with the right questions. You will never come with the right questions if you don't try to educate yourself. And how you do that, you research, you do the work, you try, and then you ask. Come to the table with something. But think about actionable things that we can start doing. And that's kind of where this stemmed from is, listen, Shivy was like, on the phone, he said, listen, I can do this, but we need to do this together, and we need to do it, and I don't know when we're going to do it. I could tell he wanted to do it soon, and I didn't want to put that out in the universe, but I was like, this is urgent, and we know it's urgent. And so longer the days to where we can wait, we can't, because the school year is going to start. The school year is going to start, and it's going to be too late. And so that's kind of where this stemmed from. This is kind of where it started from.
Well, not only that the school year is going to start, but, you know, talking about that it's a heart work. It's a heart work. And truly, if you feel it in your heart, then that becomes what you say.
Absolutely.
And what you say becomes what you think, and what you think becomes what you feel, and what you feel becomes what you do.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm trying to constantly remind myself of, is that's why I say, what am I feeding? I was talking on Wednesday with Anisha, what am I feeding my mind with? What kind of media am I putting, you know, in my mind as well? And so, and I mean, it is definitely about the school year's about to start too, but that to me, and it's kind of what you and I talked about as well. We also had the big conversation too, not to change gears, but to support what we're discussing right now. We said so many people are worried during this time specifically about returning to school in the fall because of this academic gap.
Right.
Oh my goodness, the kids haven't had academics. Oh my goodness, they have, but every version has looked different, and who knows if they've really paid attention, and who knows if the parents have done the work, and who there's so many unknowns.
Right.
And I want you to share your response to that, because it was so powerful when I said, well, how do you feel about educators saying and being so consumed and so worried with this academic gap in schools?
Yeah, no, I think right now is a time where we have to be more concerned about the whole intelligence of the child, not just the curriculum, not just the standards. In fact, now is a time where more than ever, if you were over concerned about test scores, SAT scores and all that stuff, the proof should be in the pudding that it never really mattered that much, right? So like when everything shut down, SATs, College Board shut it down. You don't need them to enroll in school. You don't need GREs to go to grad school. You don't need, you know, they canceled all the state exams, all this other kind of stuff, right? So all the crap that as educators we were upset with, we finally have an opportunity to say, well, clearly it doesn't matter that much. All right, so now let's focus on what does matter. And the things that do matter are the emotional intelligence of our kids, the spiritual well-being of our kids, the cultural inclusion and acceptance within schools for our kids. These are the things that matter now, because there's so much racial trauma that especially our young black and brown kids are experiencing right now in this time, that if we are not equipped to meet them where they need to be met coming back into the classroom, what you're sharing with them won't matter.
Right.
I mean, there's a great saying that everyone knows that, you know, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. Right? And so
that's true.
That's how these kids
that's how you
are.
Connect. Yep.
For real. Like if you're not connecting with them on a human level, all of your depth of knowledge and whether or not you can get them from DLK 1 to 4 doesn't mean nothing.
Yep.
Doesn't mean a thing. The only thing that's really going to matter as we go back into this is our kids understanding that you see the humanity in them.
Yep.
That's going to matter more than anything else. And until we get that baseline substantive relationship together with these kids, we're not going to be able to go to the rest of it. We're not going to be able to bridge the gap and all the rest that we're going to have to be concerned with.
So as you can see, we said it was a lengthy conversation. We have talked about so much stuff, and just we've had a lot of conversations between that point to now. The fact that like you live in our neighborhood, we just come around the corner to our little coffee shop that we can sit outside at and still do our social distancing and all of those things. But when you called us on that Saturday, or it was Friday, Thursday at who knows what day of the week it is anymore? I don't know if you do, but
It's yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's all I know.
This was several yesterdays ago. That's what I do know. No, but
actually a week ago.
On that call, I mean, first of all, our audience knows this about us, and you're exactly the same, is that when we see a need, when we see that teachers, we all as educators serve our students, but we also serve educators.
Yes.
And when we see that, you know, so many of you reaching out saying, I truly want to learn, I truly want to grow, I truly want to make changes, I don't know where to start, I know I need to do the research, but I don't even know where to start with the research, I don't know. And there's a lot of things that we can say, and there's a lot of things that we can do, but we said, how can we come together to truly serve all educators, to best serve all students?
Yes.
And so this is where we get to talk about what we have been working on for the past week and a half.
Celebrate.
I need to celebrate. This calls for a big celebration. And it hasn't just been the three of us. I want to make that very clear. It has been our teams, Shivy's team, and he can talk about his team, and Morgan and Amber and Cord, and Sarah Plum has been with us working on our side of things, and we're very, very, very excited about coming together to truly serve all educators,
Yes.
and I'm excited to be the learner. I'm excited to be on the learning end of this. So I'm going to let you kind of share what you brought to us and what we decided. And he said, I want to do it in a week.
You're like, take away, come on.
He really said he wanted to do it in a week. I'm not even kidding. You can ask his team. And we were all like, wait.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to drop it on Juneteenth. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, but
I said okay, let's go.
He was ready to go, and the rest of us are like,
it was like,
wait,
no.
Chase
I was
his eyes.
and then I started thinking about it. I was like, no, isn't no.
Yeah, that wasn't the best call. That would have been much too ambitious for sure.
Been awesome.
But yeah, no, I wanted to do it as soon as possible because I do feel there's an emergency for us to have the conversation. Yeah. But yes, we're coming together. We're doing a conference to really discuss anti-racist work in schools, decentering whiteness in schools, pro-inclusion in schools, culturally responsive pedagogy, racial trauma, a myriad of things to really talk about race in education in courageous ways. A lot of this stemmed from, a week ago, Hope and Wade, they had their virtual conference. They took a day of pause and sent some of their listeners to Teacher Talk Live, which I do every day, 8 o'clock on Instagram. So everyone comes in on the live, and we're having these courageous conversations about race in school. And it wasn't even booked like, okay, Hope and Wade are going to send people our way, so we're going to definitely talk about this. This was just the work we do anyway.
Yeah.
So it was just spot
Crazy.
on, and maybe God's plan, as you say, that we would be able to make it work. Well, your audience comes in, and we're having these courageous conversations about, white privilege or white microaggressions and what they look like, right? And my audience is mostly black educators, and I ask my black educators, hey, list off white microaggressions that you see in your school every day. And I mean, there's a whole laundry grocery list of just stuff, and I'm just like, oh, okay. And everything I went by, reading them off, there were things that I saw or I experienced, and they were valid. And so to see that we could have these type of conversations to again lift the veil on what's going on, it makes it visible. Like, wow, I maybe didn't realize I was doing these things. And so now we can have a conversation about it in a way where someone's not pointing a finger at you, but somebody's opening a hand towards you. And I think that changes the dynamic of the conversation. So that started the whole thing, and then now, we've been working for the past couple of weeks, bringing together, all-star team of voices.
Goodness.
An all-star team of voices to do this work, to do this conversation. And it's not like a one-hit thing. This is something that I truly believe we're building to be something that will be long-lived. A continued conversation that we'll have on a regular basis. But we're going to be doing some courageous work. And this is going to be a beautiful thing. So for all those educators that are like, I don't know where to start, well, you're going to get some answers. For those people who are like, I'm afraid I'm going to make a mistake, we're going to say, yes, you're going to make a mistake. But let us tell you of some of the mistakes you might make so you don't make them.
Right, exactly.
And let us tell you how to recover from some of these mistakes. So we're giving you real, tangible, actionable things to just really improve your ability to do this work, to be confident to do this work, and to be okay failing forward. And that is the goal in this.
Yeah. And that's one thing that, we talked about too, is we said that with Get Your Teach On, that we are all about a community empowering one another, supporting one another, moving together. And that is exactly what we want this to be as well. Communities coming together, learning together, growing together, supporting one another. And, just because we're in a community doesn't mean that we can't, and I love how you phrase it about calling them in for a conversation.
Yes.
Calling each other in for conversation.
Yeah. Shout out to Sarah Plum for that one.
Oh,
I gotta give her kudos. Gotta give her kudos.
She says a lot of very smart things.
She's real smart.
I tell her all the time in the text message, I'm like, Sarah, I'm not worthy to be in the conversation because she's so smart. But it's about community. And so we decided to call this, as our teams were meeting and we were chatting, and we have had several lot of Zoom calls together. And we said, what do we title this? What do we title this event? We really want this to encompass what this is going to be about.
Yeah.
And so we went through several things, and we said, you know what? It's the bottom line. It's this. We can't just. Did I say line? Did you hear my really
I
southern
saw
the
man.
line? I think that had a couple syllables.
It's all right.
It's good. Anyways, we said the bottom line. There we go. Wade's been calling me out on my southern tendencies lately. But we said the bottom line is that something that we've committed to verbally and behind the scenes with Get Your Teach On is time is up. Time is up. Time is up to just talk about it. It's time to
be about it.
Let's go. There we go.
There it is.
Bars.
If you don't see, if you're on Instagram, it's on the Facebook.
Yes.
So this conference is going to be called Be About It, and it is going to be a virtual conference. It is going to be 2 days with additional bonus sessions that's going to break down specific grade levels for you, as well as racial trauma and some other components. But it is going to be 2 days live with Shivy's going to be hosting the entire event. So he's going to be giving he's going to have a lot of teachable moments, a lot of feedback. Wade and I are going to be there.
We'll be there the whole time.
We're going to be learning. I mean, we are going to be soaking all of this information in.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be 2 days, and the first day, I think you kind of already mentioned this, but the first day is going to be about unpacking white privilege. What does that look like? And then the second day, so we talked about it's got to start with us, right? It's got to start with us as the human, our heart, what we think, what we feel.
So whether you're an educator or not,
yeah,
it doesn't matter if you're an educator. It doesn't matter if you work in an office space.
Right.
That first day is for every human on earth.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the second day is going to be decentering whiteness in the classroom and how we make sure that we have representation in our classroom, in our literature, in our content, that we're teaching the correct things in the correct ways, that we're opening up dialogue and conversation for all of our learners.
Yep.
And so it is going to be a powerful 2 days.
I just read it. There it is. There it is. I was waiting for Chase to put it up there.
On Instagram, you can't see it. If you're on Facebook, you're seeing what we're talking about.
If you want to see the presenters, if you want to see the presenter guide, it is right there on Facebook, so you can head there now. But, I mean, seriously, like, Shivy reached out to his folks. Like, we divided up, divide and conquer.
Yep.
And literally, it was an immediate yes, 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 yes. And that's what we're talking about. These people are super busy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're talking about, like, Bakari Sellers is a New York Times best-selling author right now. And he's like, what y'all need? Okay, let's go. But that was every single person on there. Lanisha Naomi on lives every stinking night right now.
Yeah.
Being interviewed with people like, let's go, let's get it. And so
superstar status.
Creating resources and man, creating resources, that is like a full time. I don't know how they have the time for all of the other things that they manage to fit in. But, and you know, one thing too that we need to remember is that none of these educators have to do this.
Right.
Right? As white educators, it is our work to do. But the fact that every single person says, yes, let's build this community.
Right.
Let's invest in this community, because we truly know, we see it in our classrooms all the time. We talk about it as educators all the time. And I think that educators truly do have the power to change this entire world.
Absolutely. Because
why there's so much divisiveness in the world, educators are like, no, this is when we come together.
Yes.
This is when we come together and we work as a unit and we work collectively and we learn and grow. Educators know that best, because that is what we encourage in our classrooms. And we were like, if things are going to change, it starts with educators.
Absolutely.
Educating students correctly, empowering students to then change the world.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so that's why we truly say that, you know, you've done a lot of work. Get Your Teach On's done a lot of work, but we feel like this collectiveness is what is going to truly have the power to change educators, to change students, and to change the world.
Oh, yeah. This is a collaboration I'm sure nobody ever expected.
Expect it for coming forward, too, because we're all, I mean, you're two turns down from us, so, you know,
Unbelievable.
You're stuck. You're stuck, as what we're saying.
Well, we're here now. We're here now. We're going to get it done. Yeah.
So, do we want to walk through the content and talk about some of the amazing educators?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Yep. So, I'll pull this up so that we can all see this together. I meant to have my iPad, but, you know, this is just what we're working with. So, on day one, Brandon Fleming is going to start with a call to action. And if you were part of Get Your Virtual Teach On, you already know he is the founder of the Harvard Diversity Project. He is doing incredible work, incredible things, and he is going to just start the day off with fire.
So give it up for Brandon Fleming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you want to?
You can go that way.
Okay.
I can't read. I can't see.
Yeah,
It's
keep
too
going.
small.
Okay.
small.
That same day, so the next session is going to be called "It Was All a Dream: How Racism Derails Classroom Success, Whether You Realize It or Not," and that is going to be by Dr. Sean Woodley. Wade and I had the honor of having a conversation with him. What was it?
Yesterday.
Was it just yesterday? Are you sure it wasn't?
Day before
last week?
yesterday.
Like he said, there's what?
Day before
yesterday,
Yesterday, today,
a
and
couple
tomorrow.
yesterdays ago, maybe it was yesterday.
2 yesterdays ago.
I don't even have words for the conversation.
He's brilliant. He is doing some incredible things. He's actually he's doing his own conference.
Yeah, he's got a
Yes.
conference
So
coming up.
Yep.
yeah, he's got one
Yep.
coming up. And so
we
it
were
was-
like, we don't even know if he's running a conference. Oh my
It's
gosh, there's
so-
no way he's gonna have time.
Yeah.
But he was
But-
all about it. He's on board with it, and we're just so excited to hear and learn from him and his genius. And so his session is all about I can't read. That's too small.
So his session is all about history, understanding the history and understanding what racism is. We've got to
Historically,
understand
yeah.
what it is. We've got to be able to say it, to name
Right.
it, to be able to know how we can improve and changes that we can make. Then the keynote that day, I'm going to let you take this one because this is one of
Yeah,
your
Dr.
connections that
Grant,
you had, Dr.
Jr.
Donald Grant.
Right. So yeah, Dr. Donald Grant is going to come in and he's going to talk about the 4 quadrants of racism, really breaking down what racism is. I think some of us have misconceptions about what racism is, and I think to even begin this conversation, we have to like detail it out, lay it out, understand how it rears its head in different ways, so that we can be intentional about dismantling those things. So Grant came as someone who was referred by one of my team members, Morgan Ingram,
Yes.
dope educator from San Diego, California. And I just heard rave reviews about him. I got to watch some of his videos, and I was like, yo, he's going to be perfect to have
Yeah.
on this part. So yes, Dr. Grant's going to come in, and he's going to crush that. This is going to be dope.
Then speaking of Morgan, Ingram and Sarah Plum, they are going to be coming in together collaboratively. Yes.
Yes.
Give them all the cheers.
Yes.
They're going to be coming in and they're going to be talking about the root cause, breaking down white privilege, immunity, and complicity.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be a powerful session coming from 2 different perspectives. As many of you know, Morgan, as you said, she is an educator in San Diego. Sarah has been doing this work for ever.
Yeah.
Forever. And so they're going to be able to give us some amazing strategies and knowledge again, just to start the work within ourselves. I know Wade wants to talk about
Yeah,
this.
that's my girl. That's my girl right
Talk
here.
big, talk about it. Talk
Let's
about
go.
it.
All right. So if you attended the national conference last year, you heard from the incredible, brilliant, beautiful Mariah Cooper. I think she was like the hit of the conference.
Yep.
Well, she is back, and she
Hey.
is going to be presenting on what she wishes her white teachers knew when she was a student.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm biased, and I love all of the presenters that are here, and I love all my people. But I believe that Mariah's the best.
Okay.
So I'm just saying.
Okay.
She's the best. And I'm
Okay.
still looking here, and Chase told me to look there. So
I know,
sorry,
it's hard
people.
to.
There's
Well,
so
you're
many
used to
things.
trying to read the comments
Yes.
on Instagram. But one thing, too, about Mariah that she's going to do that we talked about just from our initial conversation before we even decided to have a conference.
Right, yeah.
Was she's going to focus on those microaggressions because I know one thing that you said. We had the conversation and you asked, just what did you take from watching Teacher Talk Live?
Right.
And I said, seeing those microaggressions because there are things on there that I guarantee that many of us are doing and we don't even know.
For sure.
And you have to know before you can unlearn
Right.
what to do. And so just things, that knowledge, that information, and I think coming from Mariah is still a student and is not far removed from
UGA.
the classroom.
She's
Yeah,
at
she's at UGA. But being able to hear a student's perspective.
Yes.
The very, because for adults, a lot of people might say, yeah, but you're an adult. And that was, that was back when you were in school. And
Yeah.
that was, you're going to hear all of the excuses.
Yeah.
But
It's
hearing
gonna
from
be
a
so
student's
powerful,
perspective, I
I'm
think is going to
telling
be
you.
extremely, extremely powerful. That same day, Brandon Fleming is going to be back in the afternoon, and he is going to be talking what we shared about earlier, critical talk for critical times. how to have conversations, how to call people in, how to have the knowledge and the foundation to be able to call racism, to be able to speak on it, to be able to share why things aren't appropriate or why you shouldn't say or act in a certain way, and how you do that. And he's going to talk a lot about the questions to ask, the questions to ask yourself, the questions to ask others, to really build that community. And so I think that's going to be powerful. And then 2 more things to round out that day. We have Morgan and Sarah are back for part 2. So they have part 1 earlier in the day, and part 2 is going to be...
we say you're just too smart, so you really got to break it down. So it's too much. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh, you got the correct.
Correct.
I love that.
Correct.
But they're going to be back to talk about something that all of us, these have become buzzwords, right? Yeah. So things like ally, accomplice, co-conspirator, these have become buzz terms. For being anti-racist has become a buzz term, right? But we can't just be about it when it's trendy. What does this look like for the long haul? What does this look like long term?
And distinguishing what that means. I mean, so you can't call yourself an ally. You don't get to call yourself an ally. You become deemed an ally, and that comes through what you're actually doing. On the business side, when no one's looking, when a lot that was in my caption. I had so many people call me about my caption on my last post, where if you're not following, please take a moment to follow. Call me Shivy. That's my page. SHI.
You're gonna learn a lot.
Yes.
You're gonna learn a real lot.
But Wade, I tagged Wade on a flyer of a protest, and I don't mean to take us off board, but it's important I say this. I tagged him on a flyer to a protest here in Atlanta, and I didn't think he was really going to pull up. I was just like, let me just tag him and see what happens. And sure enough, he hits me like, yo, you going to come pick me up to take me to the rally? I'm like, all right. So I pick him up. He rides out there. He marches with us, everything like that. And it was, to me, that was showing what it looks like to really be about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to sit back and not get involved or not be present. But to actually take the time out, the risk, all the above, to go and be present on the front lines in the street. And Wade knows I'm literally on the front line when we're on the march. Like,
that's where you want to be.
It's a different feeling, man. So, we're on the front lines, and that shows like what it looks like to do the real work and to be present. And so I just wanted to give you a round of applause for showing up, my guy. Yes.
I appreciate it. I mean, it's when I came home yesterday, and again, I know this is off topic, but these are things that as a white person, you don't even know. Like, as I was walking through just the city and the streets and all those things, yes, they're the people that are surrounding us, and that atmosphere is amazing. But one thing that you and I just kept talking about was that the people driving by. Like, there was a whole different facial expression, and this is what I told Hope, with black and brown individuals in the cars than white people. The white people, they were still like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. Oh, and they were plotting. But it was just like, this was the norm. Yeah. And it has been, and it's not the norm for us. Yeah. And it hasn't been the norm for us. And this is something to where I was like, man, this is unreal. And so I'm still trying to unpack it, because you can't unpack all of it. But just understanding that humans at the root are good. Humans as a whole, we're not a bad group of people. And so, but just seeing the goodness in all types of people on the side and in the buildings, and they were coming out. You remember the
balconies and
it was just, that's what I really took away. But then also the big power moves that were being made and the leadership that was out there, and it's more than just walking. And I knew that, but I didn't really understand what it looked like, and it was just. It was special. Sorry, I know we're running out of time. But.
Well, no, he did talk about it all night and still today, and so he was definitely extremely moved.
It's a game changer when you get out there. It's a game changer. I'm sorry, y'all. Bring us back. Bring us back.
I will always bring it. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So we have Mariah, we have Brandon that day, we have Morgan and Sarah, and then both days, to round out both days, we are going to have a panel. And so the first day's panel is going to be that learning out loud component, where you and Morgan are going to host, and several white educators. We're going to talk about learning out loud, what we've learned, because I think it's important for people to not be afraid. Right. Or even if you are afraid to do it, and I've shared this with you. I'm afraid. Right. I'm afraid of, this conference. I'm afraid of speaking out. I'm afraid, I have those fears. That is, if you're saying you're not afraid, you're not being true. That's right. You're not being truthful. That's right. But do it afraid. do it anyways,
I like
right?
that.
And so that's kind of what this is about, is, you know, us sharing how we've done those things. And listen, by done those things, I mean our work is just beginning. Right. So I by no means that means this is a panel where we're going to tell you how to do all the things. It's literally where we're going to just
where we've messed up and where we've learned from it,
yeah.
and the times to
Yes.
So
and I think on that panel we have a spectrum of white educators that are at different stages of doing the work.
Yes, agreed.
So it's going to offer, and I think that's the part, man. Like people have to understand that this ain't binary. It ain't like you get it or you don't. It's a spectrum. And we're all in different places. Even as black educators, we're at different places, right? Because there are many black educators that have to be more intentional about being more inclusive in the classroom, about things that we do, because the content or the curriculum we're giving is not inclusive, right? So we got to do the extra work. And this is where we have those conversations. So I love it.
So then that second day, once we kind of work on our internal thoughts, doing the work within ourselves, the next day is going to be classroom specific, strategy driven for in the classroom. So Bakari Sellers is coming. He is going to be keynoting that morning.
That's our guy.
As you know, he just wrote the book My Vanishing Country, New York Times bestselling author. But he's also very involved in the political world. And Wade and I have heard him speak many times. We've done a lot of work with him in different schools, and just what he brings to you as educators, for the impact, the voice that you truly have. I'll never forget the first time I heard him speak, and I'm like, wow. Like, educators hold power.
Yeah.
If we're willing to use it.
Yeah.
If we're willing to take advantage of it.
And he called them to the carpet. He said, hey, you want to make a change? You got to vote. Like, you got to get out there. So this will be amazing.
That day as well, our good friend, if you were in LA, you might have met him, James Hogue. He is coming, and he is going to be talking all about fostering relationships with students and with families. Then we have Barry White Jr. that day as well.
My God.
Do you want to speak on what he's going to be?
Yeah, no, I mean, Barry's just an excellent educator, period. If you know about the guy, you know he's top notch. But him talking about his ability to foster relationships with students in the classroom and create culture, and then sharing his expertise on that with other educators on how to do that work, but do it authentically, right? Not culturally appropriating, not faking it, not doing something that's not honest and true to you, but we're creating environments where students can be authentic and true to them.
And what I found out, because I talked to Barry on the phone the other night, he is a mentee of Hayward John.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They're both Misters, Call Me Mr. program. And yep, that's his mentor.
There we go.
Small world, really cool. Let's go.
Also that day, coming and bringing it, shifting from, Barry is going to talk about climate and culture in your classroom.
Right.
And then Principal Ra is going to come, and he's been to get your lead on
in California. Yep.
Man, he's amazing, and he's going to be talking about being a revolutionary educator and what this looks like as a principal and administrative perspective for your entire school climate.
Jeez.
And it's going to be, it's going to be.
I'm telling y'all, this is a rock star lineup.
And as if it could get any better.
Oh, gosh. Jeez,
Next up, we have truly the superstars, Lanisha Tabb and Naomi O'Brien.
Hey.
And we've all been able to hear from them, and well, not all, but I hope that all of us have been able to hear from them. I hope that you're following them on social media. But they are going to be talking about that history has its eyes on you, but do you have your eyes on history? And they've been, they've been able to talk a lot about, incorporating important conversations in your classroom, making sure that your classroom is culturally responsive. And they've done a lot of work and a lot of talk on this. But what they're going to be focusing on here, which I think is so important, it's something that has been kind of really eye-opening for me, is how do we analyze the curriculum and the content that we're teaching with a cultural lens? How do we really sit down and think intentionally about what we're about to teach before we teach it? And so I think that is going to be something that, as a human, I want to know too, because as I mentioned, just consuming media and consuming what we're reading and who we're following on Facebook and Instagram and social media outlets, and this is the same to be true of our curriculum.
It's looking to see what's been intentionally left out of history and what's intentionally been put into history. This isn't quite accurate, and so But that goes in all components. And so just looking at that and being aware of it, not only in the classroom, but everywhere.
Yeah. And then to round out that day before the panel, we are going to hear from Mike and Nita Creekmore, and they are married, they are educators, and they are going to be, speaking of heart work, their session is titled specifically Your Heart Work in Action, and it's going to be about taking action on these things in your classroom on a daily basis. And that panel that afternoon is going to be just an amazing wealth of knowledge, so many different perspectives from so many different educators. Shivy will be hosting it. Then we've got Van Phillips from What My Teacher Wears. We've got Derek Carlson. We've got Donovan Smalls, who is a high school educator. Lanisha Tab will be on that. And then Davina Smith, who you actually taught with.
Yeah, she's an educator from Clayton County school system as well. I'm really excited for her. And one of the things that I love about our panels and our guests is, we didn't only go pick the people with the largest followings because they had the biggest social media platform. We tried to pick the right voices for the right segments. And I think being intentional about that is going to give us like a wealth of knowledge that supersedes the superficial how many followers you have thing, and get those voices that need to be heard out there. So I'm so happy about this. Yay! Yay!
Yes. My lives are gonna always just fall flat after. I'll be like, wait, where is the air horn? I need the air horn.
Where'd he go?
I need that a few more times.
Can you imagine if he and I taught in the same school, like right beside each other? You hear a drum kit and a guitar, and you hear me, applause, applause,
and
rapping,
that'd
be the best. Oh my gosh. It'd be amazing.
Then we've got 5 additional sessions, and again, these sessions, and we're going to talk about this too. We're going to talk about the conference and how long you're going to have access to the content and all of these things. But these 5 bonus content sessions are going to be grade level specific, but I have read the content that these educators are going to be giving, and I'm watching everyone. I don't care, because there's something that we can take back to our classrooms from every single person. So do you want to talk about the racial trauma piece just a little bit?
For sure. So we have Dr. Mario Bouquet, who is an educator from Columbia.
Brilliant.
PhD from Columbia. Brilliant. Forward thinker on talking about therapy and trauma and racial trauma for Black and brown people. So her conversation on racial trauma, I think, is going to be so critical, because this goes into students returning into school after everything that has been going on over quarantine, over the protests and the uprising and everything like that. This is going to help us to really understand emotionally, psychologically, spiritually where our students are, and how to best meet them where they need to be met.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is a session that you need to watch. Like if you don't get anything from this is definitely the piece that you need to watch.
Critical.
And the great thing about the bonus content is it may be a little bit longer than 40, because that's a lot to unpack. So it just didn't allow to be in the live part. So on demand for you there. So
then we've got 4 additional bonus sessions. We are going to be hearing from Monique Waters, and she is going to be talking about little minds can make big impacts doing the work in K through 2. We are going to have Johora Warren. She's going to be doing a session called Don't Hesitate, Educate, Building Anti-Racist Classrooms in Schools. Then we've got Donovan Smalls, who is also one of our panelists. He is going to be talking about the problem child, and he is also a high school educator. And then we've got Hayward Jean, who you've seen on our lives. He's back again. He's going to get your virtual lead on. He's going to get your virtual teach on. But he's going to be talking about how you can educate to elevate. You know he's going to bring a word, because he always brings a word. But it is going to be just incredible, and I don't even know what more I can ask for than to be able to learn from so many, not to have to question my sources. Oh, is this accurate? Is this correct? To learn from experts, to learn from educators who have lived it, to learn from educators who have done the work and been doing the work. I just don't even know what more you can ask for than them to come together.
No new kids on the block, all people who have been about this work. And again, I commend you guys, because I think what's happening through this is not only are we sharing so much, but I think it's the light of these many Black, brown, white individuals who are coming together, who really have a heart for this, and putting them on a platform and a pedestal so that their work can be on display, and so that their work can reach all the places that it needs to reach, so that our education systems can benefit as they should.
Yeah, I mean, this is an opportunity, just like Hope said, just for us, for our community, and we love our community. We adore you, and we know how powerful you are.
Yep.
But this is something. It's like, why have we not heard from these people before?
Yeah.
Right.
And so we're here to tell you that this isn't it.
Well,
Like, this is only the start. So
we've also always called our community to be game changers, to be
Right.
world
It's
changers, to
time.
be wave makers, to be the leaders.
you're going to commit.
And now is the time for us to be leaders in our school community to make sure that all of our students are learning and getting the best education and receiving the best education possible, as well as to do this work of allyship and of being anti-racist. And we've got to be the leaders in our school systems. And so I'm just really excited to go on this journey with this audience, with your audience, coming together to be able to learn from one another. So let's talk logistics, because I know everybody's been in the comments. Chase has all kinds of notes for us right here about what folks are asking. So registration will open tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Are y'all ready?
So
are you
set
ready?
your alarms, reminders, let yourself
10
know.
a.m.
You know, I'm just honestly challenging every single person who's watching right now to be here, to show up. To show up for this, for yourself, for your friends, for your spouse, for your students, to show up. That's all we're asking. We're not asking you to come with a wealth of knowledge. We're not asking you to come with answers. We're not asking you to come even ready to be involved in conversations verbally. We're asking you to show up. And I'm also asking that you ask other educators to show up. I think that this is one of the most important things that can happen in education right now. If we truly all come together, the impact.
Yeah.
The impact.
So just on that too. I mean, Hope and I really never ask you guys to do much, but
I don't know. We ask you to do a lot sometimes.
we never ask you to share a conference or to share anything of that nature. This is something that's more than worth sharing. This is critical, and this is. Again, this is knowledge that we don't know and we can't know. And these people have offered, these presenters have offered their time when it's not their job to do that. And so you don't need to take advantage of that giving spirit to not tune in and to not share it and to not call your fellow colleagues or your sister or your brother or your friends into this conference. And so I would have felt guilty if I didn't say something there and do a double dip on that.
So the dates for this, thank you, Wade. The dates for this, it will be June 29th and 30th. And you will have access to the sessions for 30 days, access to all sessions until August 1st. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, that's 30 days, guys. Listen,
we don't know what date it is.
Don't judge. Don't judge.
It's summertime, y'all. Quarantine, it's a lot going on.
The bonus content will be available at 8 a.m. on that Wednesday, so you will have day 1 on Monday, day 2 on Tuesday, and that bonus content will be on that Wednesday. If you attend to get your virtual teach-on, you know how this works. It is the same setup. And then specifically about pricing, so a ticket to this event, we will only have one ticket, and it will be $60 for access to the event.
It includes a workbook, a digital workbook like last time.
Yep, a digital workbook, and we do want to talk openly and be honest too about profits of this conference. And so Wade and I are going to be, this is not about us profiting, about us making, we are so honored and humbled to even be a part of this, to even have educators like yourself willing to share, willing to listen, willing to have dialogue, willing to have conversations. And so our proceeds will be going to the Harvard Diversity Project, because we believe in Brandon Fleming and the mission that he has in his work, and then also partnering with Bakari Sellers for South Carolina First Steps to School Readiness.
So that it's going to go there, and they are helping children who don't have food. If you know
Cleaning
anything,
supplies.
cleaning supply. I mean, you name it. Hope and I are from South Carolina. That's our home, and so we've been very intentional about the corridor of shame, that I-75 strip that's been neglected because of property tax, and the state's not doing anything about it. It's not the only place in the country that's happening, and my voice is squeaking because I get so irritated with it, because the state's not even recognizing that segregation is still happening. Because if they did recognize the property tax was unfair, then they would have to say, oh, yeah, they are segregated. And so we're very intentional about that. And so that's where our proceeds will go, hoping our Get Your Teach On profits.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and that's the other part is that, you know, as far as how we've decided to split this thing up business-wise, I'm a majority stakeholder in this. So, you know, essentially this is a Black-owned movement. And so, you know, even our merch that we're doing, we're collaborating with Trendy Teachers, which is a Black-owned teacher merch company, who I've had relationship with. I know you guys have had relationships with. She's just good people. Awesome. And so, you know, we're keeping it all in the family. And I think, you know, being intentional about Black ownership, Black dollar circulation, these things are important. And so this is a part of it. That's why this is not just, you know, formative allyship. This is doing the real work. So even on the business end, this is being done the right way. And so for anyone who might say, oh, you know, are they profiting off of it? No, they're not. My team, we're going to be making money on this. We're going to be taking care of people on our team to position them. But I think what this creates is the opportunities for platforms like mine that are still growing to be able to reach more and to be able to do more. And there's a lot that we can learn from the movement that you guys have had, and to be able to collaborate together, I think is going to amplify the voices of Black educators, and ultimately just benefit students across the board, across the country.
And that's what this is about. And that's why it is so critical and so urgent that we come together, because every single educator, political beliefs in general, feelings, we're in this for our students. We're in this for our students, and that's what we have to focus on, and that's what has always driven and has always been our motivation in schools. And so now it's time to truly be about the work for our students and making sure that we are, again, serving all students. So this is going to be... I'm just blown away. I know I've sent the graphic of
I'm so excited. Like, you say we're not profiting off of this, but I feel like I am, because
there's a spiritual wealth
because I am like
deposited on
10 right now. Like it's just that energizing.
But we sent the graphic to the team and to everyone who's been working on this, and everybody's just like chills. I have chills, like. And, you know, I mean, it's just because this is truly what happens when in education we all do come together. And we all do strive for change. And that's when our voices can be heard. And listen, we're going to be loud. We're going to be loud. And we're going to be about it together. Together. Because just one of us being about it is no longer enough. It's about us being about it together. So we truly, truly hope that every single one of you will join us, that you will show up. Just show
tomorrow morning.
Show up.
So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to you know, for us to just scream at our roofs of how many people are signing up. And, you know, I can't wait for us to say, we got to open up more spots, or we got to figure out how to make it. You know, so I'm looking forward to that.
We are as well. And Shivy, thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of this. Thank you for allowing us to grow and to learn. It's one thing that we promised to our audience is to be able to learn out loud and to share our learning with them. And this is part of that. And it's just the beginning.
For sure.
It's just the beginning.
For sure.
So tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., set your alarms. Make sure that you're following Shivy at Call Me Shivy. He's going live tonight.
So if you want to hear more from Shivy, he will be going live for about 10 hours.
He needs no sleep, y'all. And he doesn't have bags under his eyes.
Call me Shivy.
Hey, drink good water. That's all. Drink good water.
There's your tip. But have an amazing weekend. We will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Grab your ticket. Share this out. Please, please, please. Spread the word with educators. Spread the words with your team, with your admin. We need to get as many admin on board with this as possible. So share this with your admin. Let's do this thing. Let's be about it. Let's get to work, y'all. We will see y'all soon. Bye, everybody.
I'll get this.
Okay.